Oh man. Oh man. Oh man.
Funniest thing I've seen in ages.
Not again.
The Cowboys choke once again to the Packers. Let's talk about it. So, if you're an NFL fan and you've been living under a rock, you might not have heard that something pretty small happened yesterday. It looks like the Cowboys are back in town, baby. This season's going to be different. They're playing an old rival, but we can forget about the past because this time they're going to take it and they're getting blown out. The thing that makes this loss so bad is that they're not only the only home team to lose over the weekend, they're the highest seeded team to lose over the weekend, and they're the only team that doesn't have a single excuse for why they lost. Starting all the way back on Saturday, if you look at the Texans and the Browns started their 100th quarterback of the year. It was a team with a lot of dysfunction, and honestly, they were just happy to be in that spot. Now, you don't want to say that going into the game because you're expected to win it, but after it was all said and done, everybody was like, okay, the Browns overachieved. Next up, the Dolphins. They were looking fraudulent throughout the season, but everybody pretty much knew that going on the road in a cold weather game and trying to beat the Chiefs in their home environment wasn't going to be a good look for them. So they had an excuse. Looking at the Rams, they didn't even get blown out. That was the only good game of the day, which I'll talk about later. But they had every excuse to get the beat down. They've been looking fraudulent throughout the season. They were going against a Detroit team that had everything to prove. But no, they fought hard and came out with a 1-point loss. But the Cowboys, what excuse did they have? No, don't worry, I'll wait. I got time. This team is probably one of the most fraudulent teams I've seen in NFL history. And there's plenty of blame to go around. Offense, defense, special teams, coaching. If you're the front office, I don't know how you don't make a significant change somewhere. I mean, the whole team looked like they were on the road. Looking at the Packers, Jordan Love completely outplayed Dak Prescott. He looked like he'd been there before. Credit to the Packers organization for not getting rattled when they weren't doing well earlier in the season. They sort of held fast, knew what they had in the quarterback, even when people were calling for him to be replaced, because that did get pretty loud for a little bit. But they did what they had to do down the stretch, and Jordan Love looks like the guy going forward in Green Bay. Every time they needed a couple yards, or they needed a third down conversion, or they needed a score, he just went out there and did his job, and it didn't look like the moment was too big for him at all. I forget a lot of the times that he's actually been in the league for a couple years, so a lot of that tutelage with Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure, had a lot to do with it, but kid's just a beast. And the Packers, I wouldn't count them out of their next matchup so quickly, even though the 49ers are beastly. Not going to make the same mistake twice of thinking it's just going to be an easy stomp, but they're going to have their hands full with the Niners, that's for sure. So we'll see what happens. All right, moving on to the second game of the evening. We had the Lions take on the Rams over at Ford Field in Detroit, and thank goodness we finally had a competitive game. This whole weekend was just beat down after beat down after beat down. Probably one of the most uninteresting weekends of wild card I've seen in a while, just in terms of a competitive standpoint. A lot of the games were over after the first half, so everything that happened after that was, pretty much either empty stats or, teams just trying to get out of there. The Dolphins sort of had momentum taken away from them with some questionable calls, but I never really felt like they threatened to take that game. But in any event, looking at what happened with the Lions and Rams, the Lions look like a solid team. Shout out to them for not letting the pressure of the situation get to them, because they led for, I think, the entirety, if not most of that game, and the Rams were on a comeback trail. That could have turned south really fast. So they definitely held it down when they needed to. Goff did look a little less dynamic in the second half. People liked to put the game manager title on him when he was with the Rams. In the first half, I would say no, that wasn't the case. In the second half, it certainly looked like it. Not sure what happened between there. Maybe the Rams came up with a better defensive scheme coming out of the half. They gave him some different looks that he wasn't comfortable with. So maybe they switched things up just enough to get him out of his comfort zone. So we saw a tale of two different quarterbacks. And if the Lions want to continue this newfound playoff success, they're going to need first half Goff and not second half Goff. Their defense is elite, but I don't think it's the carry a quarterback all the way to the Super Bowl type defense. But I mean, crazier things have happened, so maybe they just lock in and actually take over and take it to the next level and actually take them to where they need to go. Right now, you don't really want to look over opponents, but I think they're better than either team that comes out of the Bucks-Eagles game. The Bucks, it's well known that they only scored 9 points against the worst team in the league, so I wouldn't fear them at all. The Eagles have some things to figure out. They were looking bad even before Jalen got hurt. It's so hard to talk about injuries with this guy without making a corny pun or something, but they were looking pretty bad even before he got hurt. So depending on what's going on with that, they could be even worse. And just because of the weekend that we've had with all these blowouts, I already know that Eagles-Bucks game is just going to be the best game of the weekend, only because nobody expects it. And they expect both of these teams to play like complete trash. That game is going to be something crazy like 24-31. I just know it just because of the weekend we had. Everybody thinks that everything is going to be, a turnover fest, which it might be, but they're going to come out slinging that thing, and it's probably going to be higher scoring than people expect just because of the weekends that we had. But yeah, those Lions, like I said, I think they're better than either team coming out of that game. So I look for them actually to go to the NFC Championship against the Niners. And I don't think that they'll beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game. It's looking like chalk on the NFC side. But yeah, they look good. Huge congrats to them. It's been an interesting week in Michigan sports for sure. Just bringing the natty home. Lions winning their first game in a million years. The Pistons are certainly doing things. I haven't checked in on the Red Wings. Got to see what they're up to. But I think the national championship and the Lions win alone is enough to hold Michigan for a little while with a lot of the misery that they've been experiencing over the past few years. But that's one of the feel good stories we could get behind, along with CJ Stroud and the Texans and what they're doing. So we got a couple of feel good stories here. Hats off to the Lions. Hats off to the Packers. Nobody saw them coming. How crazy would it be if we had a Lions-Packers NFC title game? Most NFC North thing ever, right? But we'll see what happens. I'll catch y'all in the next one.